Out here on a little pack trip, I'm going to show you how I do a picket line. And I wrap it up like this so there's no point to get anything caught. I'll show you how I put this back together later, but this is just a lunge line for horses, so you can make it as long as you want. This is I want to say it's 20 feet, so it gives a 40-foot circle. It's got this stake. This is one of my smaller ones. On this end, you could do a bowline. I put a bull snap on there, and I put a hose clamp on there, and I've never had one break, but I always have an extra one just in case. And then the other end of it, I have another bull snap, and these always come with a loop, so I just run it through there. So if the bull snap were to break, again, I always have another one. And then I've got this little hobble. These are seen better days. There's all different kinds. You can literally just use a bowline, but I find there's less trouble when you have two swivels on it in case they get a little rambunctious. So when I shot this video, I kind of cut the sheep shank off. So I'm reshooting this at home with old Rebel here. He's making sure I do it right this time. And Patriot. So you want to take somewhere out of the middle of the rope and make some loops so you can get it a little shorter. Sometimes you need to shorten it up because there's some bushes or rocks or something. Hopefully you don't, but if you do have to do it, you just make a few loops. You do a half hitch, do it over one end, and then you do another half hitch. And you do it over the other end, and there you go. It tightens it up, shortens it up, and that way if you've got some obstacles, you are good to go. So you want to drive that all the way into the ground so there's nothing hanging up. You definitely want to try this at home where you're fenced in, get them used to it. This guy, Patriot, is totally used to it, but I always walk them out to the end. So that's a really good way to keep the stock contained, especially when you're only bringing a couple. I've got the high line set up. I'll show you that in a minute. Ginger the mule's over there on it. I only brought one Picket. I'll let him go to town on that one. So I realized I didn't do a very good job of showing you how I store this Picket. So I make a bunch of loops that are just a little longer than the Picket and start at one end and just start wrapping. You got to make sure that you leave quite a bit of rope, probably 6 or 8 feet. I know this takes a little longer, but I never have it come loose. So you make a bunch of tight ropes because you want enough rope for it to go all the way end to end, so it keeps it nice and tight. You want to get it pretty tight. Turn it around so you get the other end a little easier. So try to go all the way to the end of the stake, because the last thing you want to do is have this poke through your pack. So if you have a little too much or too little, you can go down to the other end. When I get almost to the end, I just get the hobble over the end of the picket so it doesn't come off. And sometimes it will regardless. Might take a minute, but then you've got a nice tight package. The pokey end is a little protected and it goes into the pack, and you don't have to worry about putting it in another bag, although I try to just place it where this end is not going to poke through anything. So depending on the length of the trip and the terrain I'm going into, I might use some hobbles or picket line as it was. I'll hobble them out. I tend to not hobble them out when I only have 2 of them. When you have 4 or 5 animals and if one gets loose, not a big deal. If you have only 2 animals and one takes off, the other one might get a little upset. So I'll do the picket lines, I'll do the hobbles. I always do the high line. You want that on a durable surface. I'm pretty lucky here, even though it's the middle of winter. The durable surface also has grass, big bonus. And then sometimes I will bring an electric fence. I'll show you that in a future video. It's got 4D batteries and lasts, I've never had it go dead on even a 14-day trip. So I think that's about the limit of my electric fence. If I have an electric fence, I always make sure one is hard tied, whether it be the high line, picket line, something, because if that fence gets knocked over by a branch or something, you don't want all of them getting loose. Ask me how I know. It's a bad day. There you go. I hope this helps. Keep your coffee hot, your loads tight, and we will see you next time.